I would say more general speaking, like as we all understanding the screenwriter or script writer and then the actor actress has to be in some way to be more regulated.
Right.
And what if we bring the blockchain service and we bring together with the digital identity, and that would be even more transparent for the government regulation, because everybody knows each other and how much you are going to make and how much you're profiting returns to you. That would be something, a big favor for not only for government, but for investors, for the production, everybody.
Right.
This is something we assume for big marketing like China film marketing right now, and they demand something like this. Okay. So, well, but for us, that would be.
But at the end of the day, our project is pretty phenomenal because we're combining so many different things, and we'll cut and introduce everything. But let's just get some raw footage, because at the end of the day, what we're about to do with blockchain and creative projects globally, especially into China, is something that's never been seen, never been done, right? But just like Rex said, guys, what we're trying to do is we're trying to accomplish more transparency in an industry that has none. Give you an example. Sometimes studios will say they spend $100 million on your marketing, but Ian, what do you think they really spend? Like 10, 15?
I would, I mean, you could probably take a zero off and reduce the percentage.
Right.
Definitely. And that's been one of since the early days of studios, the domination and control factor that was hidden behind the accountancy ledgers was always, one of the biggest problems. I've been involved in something that the opening weekend was phenomenal, but it was still a losing movie by 3 weeks later because 35% loading on the accountancy charges for overheads in the studio. Reason Rex and I particularly engage with this and talking with yourselves and the team, and seeing Dionysus as a template that one can adapt and move forward into, perhaps adapting the regulated structure may be required on land and on shore in China. It absolutely dispels that problem. It gives you that transparency, as you say, the sort of ledger visibility with regard to that. And I think that's got to be a major positive.
It is.
Particularly throughout the industry. Whether it's adopted wholesale, that's another thing. But I think there's a great opportunity in markets, particularly like China, where they are crying out for that sort of economy of scale, but also at the same time diversity and transparency, where they can see genuinely where the revenues are coming from. And also I think the potential where one can see revenue streams move territory in a more effortless format too.
Right.
Whereas before, that can always be slightly more difficult and cumbersome when you're stuck with specific currencies.
That's true. So, ladies and gentlemen, just so everybody understands what we're doing today, we're talking about Dionysus and the movie industry in general. Blockchain is going to disrupt many of the facets, but our partners globally, like Ian Brown and Rex Rio, are going to help us get into territories and show them how blockchain can change an actual industry that's not very transparent. So what you heard right now is very special, because in these markets, there's all these players that literally have a monopoly. And when you can open up this industry globally and give people the power to not just create, because again, imagine all the movies and all the creative projects globally that do not get funded. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about thousands of projects every single week, every single month that do not get funded, but you might have something that's Oscar-worthy, right? But we will never know as an industry because there's not a funding mechanism. That's where Dionysus is going to change this industry, but also the project that we're working with inside of China, because at the end of the day, China one day, very, very soon, is going to be the biggest market when it comes to movies in general. They have a voracious appetite for entertainment, but they also have a voracious appetite for like IMAX, anything that is high definition movies. They want the best of the best. So when we talk about decentralization, when we talk about transparency, this helps every single market, not just China. We're talking about America, we're talking about Germany, Bollywood, Nollywood. This is a global phenomenon. And these gentlemen that you see right next to me are going to help shape that for decades to come. Because what you're going to see with blockchain is all of a sudden, people in Africa that do not have access to banking infrastructure will be able to get involved with projects in China, right? because they're going to help China hedge a lot of that risk. But let's say that they have something, I'll give you an example. Right now, let's say if we had a film that was a blockbuster in China, and all of a sudden a native token in China allowed people globally to put their money into the project, it would help China get more projects funded around the world, but also somebody in Africa, somebody in Argentina, somebody in McAllen, Texas, my hometown, by the way, could put money into this movie and speculate. And obviously, if it's a blockbuster, they make money, right? But in Hollywood right now, that is not a possibility, and it's not going to happen in Hollywood. And so the beautiful thing about blockchain, ladies and gentlemen, is these gentlemen that you see right next to me are going to help shape it forever. And people like you that are hearing this story right now will be able to put money into projects like what we're talking about for decades to come. Your children will be able to put money into these projects for decades to come. So what I recommend, guys, is that you really start seeing some of these projects out of other countries. Start learning, start reading, start doing the due diligence, because at the end of the day, all we do is provide the knowledge. It's still up to you to do the due diligence and figure out if you want to get involved with these projects. So once again, guys, thank you very much. Rex, thank you very much for all your time and your information, very valuable. Mr. Ian Brown, we love you no matter what. I don't care what they say about you in the background. And we hope to see you again on another episode of Rise of the ICOs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.